right. Well, shall we dive in with the kind of keynote part of our presentation here today? I'm titling it AI for Real Business Owners. Y'all are real business owners, right? Um, Building an AI-driven team that runs faster in 2026. So my goal here today is to kind of give you some different ways to think about things, and I do want this to be tactical for y'all so you can actually take some things and start to implement it over the next 24 to 48 hours, and take some things into your annual planning in when meeting tomorrow. So with that, if you have not heard me present or go through things in the past, I'll give you the permission right now. Feel free to stop me, ask questions, throw it in the chat. We'll have Taylor and Andy and Jody help me catch any of the questions or anything else that may be in the chat. But I want to make sure that this is useful for y'all as we go through it. All right, so let's dive in. AI for real business owners. So let's set the stage with some learning in AI. Just quick show of hands or type it into the chat. How many of you were here for the quick presentation I did at our last 90-day planning workshop on how to use ChatGPT? You, perfect. So for those of you that haven't seen it, a little bit of background noise here. There we go. For those of you that have not seen it, it is on YouTube. So Taylor making a note here. When we get done today, let's send out the link on YouTube for anyone who had missed it so that they can see it. But that was a presentation where I went through kind of how to set up ChatGPT for success. So we went through system prompts and the different types of ChatGPT accounts and different things like that. Today, I'm not going to reiterate it, but I wanted to make sure that I give you guys the tools. If you hadn't seen it or kind of refresh on it, you can go back and see those types of things. So today, what I want to do is go through and share a few things here. So the first one is processes that can be shaved down to a matter of minutes. So to give you a little bit of context, over this past couple months or so, we've been really looking at how do we start implementing different things with AI within the business. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but our team continues to grow. So we have multiple team members. We have people that bring on onboarding systems, training, all this kind of stuff. And one of the things that we do is we run a podcast series, not just for us here locally, but for other coaches around the country. Part of this is we hired, and we've got a team of 3 podcasters now that run these podcasts, that host them. And one of the things whenever you hire people is you need to work on training them and continue to give them the skills that they need. So as we built out this team, I very quickly found out I ran out of time to do things like call reviews. So if you've got a 45-minute or an hour-long call to go through and give feedback on how they can continue to develop their skills and get better and things like that, that takes a lot of time when you have 3 team members consistently needing quick feedback. And so I started to kind of run out of time, and it was taking probably close to 10 hours a week if you were to sit down and actually do the call reviews and things like that. I'm like, well, how do I make this more accessible? Because it's really not fair to the team to not be able to have quick feedback if I'm constrained for time. So one of the things that I did is I took everything out of my head, and I'll show you the example of this throughout the course of this presentation today. But I took everything out of my head on what makes a really good call review. So how do I think about it? How do I review it? What do I look for? What do I listen for? All of that type of stuff. And I just talked to ChatGPT about all of those types of things until it could create a set of instructions that I put into a custom GPT. Now the team can take a transcript of every call that they do, and they can plug it in there and say, I'm ready to do a call review. And it will give them live coaching feedback on how their call went. What could they have done better on? What things did they miss? What areas were really, really good? They can reinforce. And like I said, I'll show you an example of this. But what it did is it took something that took close to 10 hours of time, and it reduced it to a matter of minutes. And that was for me, let alone the fact that now the team members can do 3 calls in a day. And rather than having to take another 30 to 45 minutes to go do a call review on each one of them, they can plop that in and get real-time feedback and not have to wait for me or someone else on the team. So does this replace what I've done? No. Does it augment it and give them additional skills and leverage? 100%. And that is really the power of how AI can be used in automation and leverage within business. Crazy. So the big idea of today is that AI enabled teams outperform those that don't use AI. Embracing AI to build a faster, smarter businesses is the overall big theme. Not to replace team members, not to completely replace systems, but to enable our team members and our systems to work with kind of superpowers. So why does this matter? This is where we start looking at how do we unlock the power of AI. So, and I'm going to have you come off mute here, but when you look at the real bottleneck in business, what tends to be the real bottlenecks in most small businesses today?
Time.
Time. Yes. And it's usually whose time?
Yours.
That's right. The business owners, right? And I know many of
Efficiency.
you have felt this. I know Andy, Jody, and I have felt this a number of different times. We just run out of time. So when we look at this, it's how do we augment this to be able to create space and bandwidth for us to have a little bit more time. So that's probably the number one kind of bottleneck within there. Other things that are kind of honorable mentions here: execution can be inconsistent across the team. You've got SOPs that are scattered, not followed consistently. You may have them, but maybe it's sitting in a drawer. It's like I kind of remember this, but the team doesn't always remember it when they're out in the field. There's all these different things that kind of create this inconsistency. Oftentimes can be teams are understaffed, they're undertrained, or they're under resourced, right? So how can we use AI to help close the gap between many of these types of things? So we got to start thinking about what does AI actually do? The way that I like to think about it is it clarifies our thinking. So not technically what does it do, but how does it actually help us? What does it actually do within the business? So a lot of times it clarifies our thinking. And I know for those of you that sat in on um, the AI sessions I did this morning, a lot of it was how do we clarify our thinking? How do we think through a process? How do we ask questions and get to a set of actions that we can actually take action on? The next thing it can do is it can surface your playbooks. So you have playbooks, you have SOPs, you have different things in the business on how to do things. When you can have AI help access them versus having to find the document, maybe search for some things in it, read it, but literally have your team members type into a chat saying, how do I do X, Y, and Z, trained on your systems in your business, their response time is so much faster. It can standardize the output and reduce rework. Andy will love this. I heard him say it probably 2 weeks ago, and we were sitting down with a prospect of ours, and he's like, he had heard this a number of different times in the past, but why is it we always have time to do it over, but we don't have time to do it right the first time? Right? So rework. How much time is wasted in a business because we have to go back and redo things? So if we can standardize the output and use a tool that's trained on the output every single time, and you have less human error, you can start to reduce some of the rework. Speeds decisions, helps us train the team. So I gave you an example of kind of how we're starting to look at training the team, right? It can document your processes automatically as you operate. So lots of different note-taking tools and things like that all can help us start to build this up. So today's goals. What we're going to go through here is the process to teach ChatGPT or your favorite chatbot, if you want to use Claude or Grok or Gemini or the others, the principles are the same. We're going to teach the tool to sound like you. We're going to talk about how to build a reusable system prompt, how to develop a team-ready GPT, how to automate things like a daily activity or weekly report, and then we're going to start drafting out what this can look like as part of a 2026 operating system and give you a plan of attack to start implementing this with team. That is the goals of the remainder of this conversation today. Sound good? Exciting? Seeing some thumbs up, some movements. Yes. Okay, cool. Beautiful. So let's dig into this. First and foremost, let's talk a little bit about the ownership loop. So the ownership loop looks primarily like this. We're going to start by defining your tone. How do you want this tool to actually, or how do you want it to sound? And ideally, we want it to sound like us, right? Has anyone ever, put something into ChatGPT and said, "Hey, I need you to write a post, or write an email, or something else like that for me," and it gives you a response, and you go, "That doesn't really sound like I would write." Show of hands, anyone have that happen before? Okay. Yes. Okay. Cool. So we're going to first start by how do we solve that particular problem. Then we start moving into systemizing our prompts. So we had some good conversation, a few of the breakouts earlier on how important it is to properly prompt the tool and go through that process. The next chunk here is going to be cloning our expertise. How do we pull this stuff out of our head and put it into a tool, into something that's going to allow us to replicate, have other people access it, and use it consistently? Then we look at how do we deploy this stuff to our team. The important piece of reviewing this stuff weekly. So if you're going to deploy to your team and you've got different tools and things like that, let's review it, make sure that we're continuing to update those as needed. And then we can start to talk about automating with agents. Why is that further down on the ownership loop? Important to maybe just touch on this really quickly. When it comes to automation, and I think I mentioned this briefly in one of the breakout sessions earlier today. When it comes to automation, it can be very easy in today's day and age to say, I'm just going to go automate a process. We'll take front end type stuff like calls. We're going to automate calls. We're going to use an AI tool. They're going to take all our inbound calls, things like that. If we haven't thought through the entire process first, and we just go to automate it from day one, it can be very difficult for that to be successful because it doesn't have the context and we haven't thought through every step. We have to come back to the foundation and build the system first, right? So if a call comes in, what does that call sound like? Like if I'm going to take the call as a human being, what questions are they asking me? What questions do I usually ask them? Let's build that part of the script first. Understand how that works before you layer on AI on top of it or any type of automation. Same with the next step. Do they go to another meeting? Do they go to direct to sale? Like, what are the things that happen in that process so we can start to map that out? Systemize it first, understand that process before starting to automate. That's why we don't go straight to automating with agents. We go through cloning the expertise, the systems, the processes first, and then we layer on the tool on top of it. Is that kind of making sense? Any questions that stand out on that before we start getting into each one of these here individually? Awesome. Michael, automating a bad process is an automated bad process. Yep. 100%. All right, so let's get into tone training. How to train AI on your voice. Why do you think this matters? Why is it important for AI to sound like us?
You're going to end up redoing it multiple times until you train it.
Yes, it's a
Or you
really
can
big
never
piece.
step away.
Yeah, 100%.
And it just sounds like a robot, and people could tell.
Yes. Sounds like a robot and people can tell. 100%, right? So there's this level of consistency that we want to be able to get to, right? Consistency ensures that your voice stays intact. Consistency and clarity, right? Clarity empowers you, your team, your clients to be able to act confidently on things. So it's an important first step in the process to make this a little bit more effective within the business. So how do we do that? What is the process for it? First, gather 3 to 5 of your best written samples. So what does that mean? What are examples? What are written samples? What would be examples of this?
Something out of your own SOP or your handwriting type stuff.
Yeah. SOPs, other things you've handwritten. What else do you think?
Maybe emails, because emails are probably getting like closest to, it's kind of closest to like what your natural tone and flow is, and just kind of your writing style in general. Your maybe even, I don't know. I don't know if I would say the same speaking style, but it's going to capture that.
Absolutely. 100%. So writing samples can be anything, but I would primarily recommend anything that you traditionally do consistently. So if you write emails a lot, find the emails that you write and pull samples of it. If you write social media posts a lot, right? You do long form written and you're actually writing it and typing it, pull those. If you're speaking a lot and you can transcribe that and take that as an example, take that piece. If you're someone who writes paragraphs and books and essays and things like that, grab some of those samples. But whatever you traditionally communicate in, so this goes text messages, Slack messages, like you have different styles of writings for different mediums. Grab samples from each one of them. Grab at least 3 to 5. You can grab more than that, but grab at least 3 to 5 so you can give some training model for the AI to take a look at and start to mimic. Once we have those, then we got to craft the prompt to extract our writing style from it. And I've got the example that we'll go through here. And then we're going to compile those results into a single document that is, this is how you sound like me. So once we're done here today, another reminder, Taylor, if you don't, I don't think you have them yet, but other than just this recording, remind me and we'll send these slides out to everyone so they can see this stuff even tighter. But this is an exact prompt that you can copy and use. So first, we're going to say you are a communication analyst who specializes in identifying writing styles and tone. Then I'm going to give you 3 to 5 examples of my writing. These represent how I naturally communicate. I want to use AI to help me write, but it must match my voice. Now we're giving it the context of what it is we want it to do. Now what I want it to do, analyze these writing samples and create a detailed description of my writing style that includes tone. So do I tend to be more formal, casual, direct? Like what is my natural style? Sentence structure, word choice, personality, some common patterns. Do I usually have questions? Do I use analogies? Do I use data in how I write? And then what makes my writing distinctive? Those are the things I wanted to take a look at. And then what I wanted to do is write a 400 to 500 word outline with clear headings and examples for my writing. And then you paste in those writing samples. So very simple, copy all of this, paste it into ChatGPT, attach the files, hit enter. It will analyze all of it and it will give you the document that you can then use for the remainder of the prompt stuff that we'll talk about today and be able to give to the instructions within ChatGPT or any of the chatbots that you choose to use. Pause there for a second. Yeah.
Can I have a question? So we keep talking about using like OpenAI and ChatGPT and, Perplexity, Grok, pick the one that you want to play with. But,
yeah,
there's so many that are now embedded in the application, Microsoft, now has Copilot embedded. Adobe has, I don't even know what theirs is. It just says ask the AI assistant. I don't know that those are trainable, because it's usually in the context of a single project or document that you're working on. I don't know that it even remembers you from one document to the next. So when you're talking about doing this, you are talking about doing this using like an exclusive platform.
Gork will remember you to some degree. It doesn't remember everything about you, but if you use it long enough, it does pick on some things because I've played with it enough to where it will keep a rudimentary feel for what you asked it, and it can go back and search some of the stuff you have asked it within a 30 to 60 day window.
So Lee, you bring up a good question though, and that is more and more of these tools in some way, shape, or form are being integrated into different parts of systems, right?
Yeah.
So you've got Microsoft is a really good example where it's got its own Copilot, and Copilot is being integrated into Word and Excel and I'm sure, well, what's the browser that they
PowerPoint.
use? PowerPoint, like all of those types of things. So in some degrees, like, yeah, I don't know if you can technically train the one for like Adobe, things like that. But I am specifically talking about the underlying platform. So actually going into ChatGPT, actually going into the Gemini app, actually going into Grok and different things like that. That being said, some of those do translate over. So Gemini is a really good example of you can go in and you can train Gemini using the same stuff. And when you use Gemini, as long as you're connected to it, it will use your profile as the one that you're using inside the browser or inside Google Sheets or something else like that. OpenAI does the same thing. They have, and we'll talk about it briefly here towards the end of this presentation. They have a browser called Atlas. You are all of your settings and everything else for your ChatGPT account is what's logged in for that browser. And if you use your ChatGPT, all of that stuff is saved in cross-reference between both sides. It's a long-winded way to answer the question of, yes, when I'm going through this, I'm specifically talking about the actual individual language model platforms, but there is some connection, and that's continuing to get better and better kind of each month.
Yeah, somebody posted in the chat. I mean, I have found, if you pay for it, it's trainable. But some of them are getting really expensive, right? I mean, like the advanced versions of Grok and Perplexity that have multi-agent capabilities where you can get more than one agent working on the same project. They're $300 a month now.
Yeah. And I would say for the vast majority of the folks on the call today, either the base model or that first tier that's usually about $20 a month
Yep.
for any one of these tends to be enough.
Yep.
I will tell everybody transparently on this call, everything that I'm going to share with you, everything that I've done is only at that $20 a month level, like not going through, massive expensive platforms, things like that. There are things that can be done at that level. But ideally, everything that I'm sharing today can be done at those lower levels.
Right.
And the memory across chat has gotten a lot better in most platforms as well. Good questions. Other questions and thoughts before we kind of move on to the next piece of this here? All right. So tone extraction, that's the first one. Next, we start to look at system prompts. So what is a system prompt? System prompt is essentially the AI standard operating procedure. This is where you start to eliminate that re-explanation tax, which is very similar to what we were just talking about. How do you give it the context so that you don't have to re-explain it every single time, right? So let's go into this and talk about kind of the process for it. So prompting to begin with, what is the best prompting structure? And you kind of saw it in that example prompt that I shared. The really simple way to think about prompt structure is going to be role, context, command, and format. So first we tell in the prompt, we say, who do we want it to be? Right. So if we think of any task that we want to do or something that we're addressing with ChatGPT or one of the other models, I want to write a social media post. So who do I want this to be? Well, I want it to be an expert marketer that's, specializes in copywriting and specifically for LinkedIn because I'm writing LinkedIn copy. So I want you to be a specialist in this particular area. That's who I want this role to be within the chat. Then you give it context. What is it that it needs to know? What's the environment? I am a business coaching company. My role in the company is this. We're looking to achieve these types of things. I want the post the post can be sent on Sunday afternoon, and it's going to be on this platform. Like as much context as you can provide. Then the command. What do you want it to do? Well, I want you to write a 300-word or a 200-word or a 100-word post that specifically talks about these things. I want it to be in this style, and just as much as the thoughts of what you want it to do. Obviously, I'm blanking at the moment. And then format. What do you want the output to look like? Do you want it to be a bullet point list? Do you want it to be a PDF? Do you want it to be a Word document? Do you want it to just be the actual post itself? Do you want it to be an outline first and then refine it? But give it the format that you want the output to be. So these are kind of those key 4 areas: role, context, command, and format. Who do I want it to be? What does it need to know about? What do you want it to do? What's the output need to look like? When you get this format or this structure built out, you can literally copy paste that for every prompt or starting prompt that you'd want to put into your chat tool of choice. So let's look at what that could look like. Copywriting system prompt, here's an example of what it could look like, right? So it sets the role, produces the product and the persona, outlines the flow and the objective, defines the tone, questions, and techniques. So, and this would be a really good example of how you can use your tone document to get it to look and sound like you. So first we have role. You're an expert copywriter with 20 years of experience who knows my tone perfectly and can improve my writing while still keeping it sounding like me. Context. I run a plumbing company looking to reach first-time home buyers by helping I run a plumbing company looking to increase sales by helping new home buyers. There's probably a better way to phrase that. I've attached a tone document that you can reference for everything you write, so it sounds like me. Here's the command. I want you to write a short sales email campaign, approximately 200 words in length, that starts with a strong opening focused on how to spot potential pipe leaks in winter. Then share how we can solve that problem with our services, and they should book a call. So we're telling it exactly what we want it to do and the format. Write it as a basic text-based email. Include your suggested subject line and for the highest open rate. By the way, here's my tone document, and you paste in the document that we just went through. This is a structure to get a much more accurate, better sales email campaign written letter that sounds more like you than just going in and saying, write an email sales campaign for this, right? So we've hit role, context, command, format, and we've got our tone document, something that can be copied and pasted and just tweaked every single time that someone on your team who needs to do copywriting can follow for consistent output every single time, right? So it becomes a standard operating procedure. Make sense? Cool. You can also do this for, that's an easy example to go to like marketing and things like that, but you could do the same thing for ops, for projects, for different things like that. Your inputs may be a little bit different. You want it to clarify scope or timeline or deliverables, specific responsibilities and checkpoints, ensures consistent briefs across platforms. So there's different ways to think about this. One of my favorite things to do, and I don't have like the example that I can share directly, but I use this for projects all the time. So if I'm working on a specific project, I have kind of an outline of how I like to see like the tasks and the phases within a project. I will literally take that as an example and I will share it into ChatGPT and I will say, here's the next project that I'm working on. Here's kind of some of the deliverables within it. I need you to be my project manager who does these types of things, and I want my output to be a full scoped out project task list that my team and I can just follow. And it will create it for me. I'll traditionally go far enough and say I want it to be something built for Notion, so I can just copy and paste it and put it into Notion, or give it to me as a Google sheet, so I can just export it and upload it into Google Drive. But it's a really simple way to start. Every time we have a project, I can get a similar format in a matter of seconds versus having to go and like rebuild it every single time. So it's reducing that re-explanation task is kind of the core piece of this. So I think I went through this in the how to use ChatGPT kind of presentation that I did a quarter ago, but project folders really took this to the extreme over the last quarter, and it's been really kind of cool to see how this works. And I'll show you my ChatGPT account and how this is set up here in a minute. But creating department project folders within ChatGPT that are essentially specialists or specialists within the department. So think your chief marketing officer, your chief sales officer, your chief financial officer. Like think of like each of the departments within a business and all of the SOPs, all of the knowledge base, all of the instruction sets that you would have for each of those departments, and being able to build specific department folders that are trained on that knowledge, which then gives each of those teams a specific folder that they can always go to with your specific knowledge base for that department. This is kind of that first layer of how do we start breaking out AI in a way that can truly be deployed within a team. So when you kind of look at it, you've got your AI team, and if you break it down, you've got team, you've got admin, you've got finance, operations, marketing, sales, all the kind of core facets of the business, right? So if you think about what does my finance team need to know that my marketing team doesn't really need to know, or vice versa, or what does sales need to know that the admin team doesn't really need to know? My guess is in most businesses, there's going to be a different set of rules or instructions or SOPs that your team's going to need access to. So when we're setting up different project folders within ChatGPT, or you can do the same thing in Claude. Don't think Gemini can do project folders yet. You can go in, you can give it instructions, you can give different SOPs and different things like that. This becomes a really good tool for your team to be able to go and access. So I'll introduce it here in a minute. I'm going to kind of share screen of my ChatGPT account, and I will show you a little bit of what that looks like. Custom GPTs. How many of you are familiar with creating custom GPTs? I got a couple sort ofs. Awesome. So custom GPTs, for those that haven't really dived into it yet, this is where you can really create role-specific or specialty roles or kind of consistent chats within ChatGPT. It's a shareable role-based or role-specific AI team member. It really can bundle your system prompts, the memory, the actions, all the things that you would want to have happen for a specific thing, and put it all into one place and make it simple. So here's some examples. And this is the easiest way for me to go through this is to show you in real time what these look like. So we have two here that I'm going to show you. We have a call review GPT, which goes back to what I had mentioned at the beginning of this presentation. And then we created a sales role play GPT, which I think William, there he is, he's on the call here. William's had the chance to play around with a little bit, where you can actually practice real style sales role play, which is really cool. So I'm going to kind of show a few of those examples here. So I'm going to stop share and get that pulled up. So a few things that I wanted to share. First and foremost, I'm going to go through kind of these project folders and the team folders that I had mentioned. So I do want to first disclose this is a team ChatGPT account. So I do go through this in that previous presentation on the different types and levels of ChatGPT, things like that. So you've got individual accounts, and then you've got team accounts. Individual, I think, is like free plus, and then like premium, which is the free $20 and like $200. Team is essentially it's a plus account, but you control it from an admin level. So it's like $30 per seat, I think it is. You have to have at least two, might be three, two or three is like kind of the minimum number. So this is the team account that we have deployed within Action Coach Central Texas. So each of our team members has an account that is all kind of locked within this space, and they get access to these different tools. Karina, I see you've got your hand raised. You have a question?
Yeah, actually, it was just kind of when you come to these different kinds of folders, I guess. Mm-hmm. If you already started and you didn't realize that you could create folders, is there any way to go back and put your stuff into folders?
Yes. Great question. So a couple things. I'll answer that one quickly here. So if you've got, if you're over here on the left and you've got all of the different chats that have been uncategorized right now, you can come in. You'll usually have the kind of the three dots that are over here on the right. You can click that and you can go move to project and choose which folder that you want it to be in. So you can go back and move them into folders if you want to. You can also move them between folders. You can delete folders and clean it all up as you need to. So this is an example of kind of each of the departments within our business, from broke out business planning, but marketing, IT and tech, finance, coaching, operations and admin, sales, HR and team. Each one of these, if I go into one of the folders here, so I'm in the marketing department folder. This is what it looks like. There's no chats in it currently. There's files, and then there are instructions. So I have set a series of instructions within here on what I wanted the marketing folder to know about. So this is simple as like pulling information of your role is to function as a master marketer, combining the discipline of my operating system with proven principles of the world's most effective marketers. And here's a couple different examples of good marketers out there. Your mandate, use this to do these types of things. I want to make sure that you're driving qualified leads, protecting our acquisition cost and lifetime value ratios. So we're giving it instructions so that every time a team member comes in here and asks a question or needs to work on a marketing thing, it's driving from what the goals and the kind of key operating pieces are within the business. Your instructions may look very different than this. This is just what we have chosen. So you set the instructions. Then you can add files. So I have two different files in this particular folder. The first one is our marketing action coach admin AI operating system, which is just a document that says, here's all the things that you need to know about of how we do marketing within this business. So I can reference that. So this is like when you start thinking about creating SOPs for different parts within your business, this is where you can start plugging them in so that every time a chat is working, it has those reference files to come back to. Action Coach Global recently released a manifesto and kind of this whole rebranding piece of what the company has gone through. So I plugged that in here so that we can continue to be on the same, be in alignment with the global brand and different things like that. So it's a way to start thinking about, how do I start giving these tools in an effective way to the team? And then you can share it with different team members and things like that. So that's the project folder side of things. That's kind of a way to be thinking about that.
Tanner,
Custom, yes.
can I just ask real quick? Is that the files that you have uploaded? Then are those directly referenced by your instruction set that you're referencing those, or will it look at those anyway?
Both. So
Okay.
it will look at them anyway. And traditionally, what I'll do now that I think about it, I probably don't have the instructions on the manifesto because I haven't added that in yet. But if I know that there's a couple different SOPs that are going to be in there when I'm writing the instructions, and they have very key distinct reasons why I would want it to go and reference it, I would likely put the instruction in there that says, hey, every time that this type of topic comes up, go and look at this file. So you could do that. I think it really just depends on, do you want it more globally, or is there very specific reasons to go look at specific files? Great question. Other questions on this? Otherwise, I'll jump into the custom GPTs. All right, custom GPTs. So I'm going to go into this call review one. There we go. So this is it opens up just like a regular chat. That's what it's going to look like. The only difference is there is a set of instructions on the back end, which I'm going to open up for you here. So if I go to edit GPT, you can kind of see what we have built on the back end of this. You're going to give it a name. So you can create as many of these as you want to, and then you can share them with your team members. You can share them, like I could share this with y'all if we wanted to. You can just create a link and make it public and share it with anybody. But I'm going to call this Spotlight Podcast Call Review. What is it? It's a deep call review of our podcasts. That's what it is. And then the instruction set, which is basically just saying, here's what I want you to do. I want you to review these. Your role is to analyze the transcripts, provide feedback. At the start of every session, I want you to ask the user, are you a manager reviewing the call, or are you a team member reviewing your own call? So I'm giving it this instruction of what I want it to do. And then I give it its knowledge base. So I gave it the scripting. I gave it some additional call reviews and things like that it will reference, so that every time a team member comes in and does this, it's able to reflect and take a look at what is the process for doing this. This is the back end of what a custom GPT will look like. And I'll show you a more complex one here after a bit. So what does this look like? If I were to come in here now and I'd say, I am ready to do a call review. This is the whole process of saving a tremendous amount of time. Great. So before we get started, are you a manager reviewing the call, or a team member or a team member reviewing your own call? And for this case, I'm going to say, I am a manager reviewing a call. Thanks for confirming. Before I can begin, I will need the full transcript. And if that's not available, then give me the audio summary, your notes, or any other Zoom metrics and things like that. So you can add in the call notes, you can add in whatever you have from that particular call. Once it has it, then it's going to go through these process. And as it so happens, I have a transcript that we're going to use. So I will just take it, paste it in, and hit go. So first thing it's going to do is it's going to flag some things at the very beginning. And then it's going to give me this 6-pillar evaluation of how we've done. This part I absolutely love, right? So it's going to go through and it's going to say, here's the things that went really well. Like, do more of these types of things. Here's some opportunities. You might have kind of front loaded some things a little too much. You missed a pause after the guest said thank you, didn't really acknowledge here. And then, here's a simple coaching line. Before we dive in, anything that you're hoping this interview helps you accomplish for you in your business? Like, that's a really neat question. That's not even part of the script, but maybe we should think about that because of how this is analyzed. Then it goes through position and framing, it goes through discovery and depth. This is another really fun one because it will pull out, I think there's, this one doesn't have it as much, but give some feedback on each of these areas and why it matters to go through each of them. Go through value bridge, call to action transition, what went well, what were the gaps, what are some ways to get better, and then kind of some coaching and things like that. So because it's a manager reviewing for a team member, it's giving me things that then I can go and work on with the team member as well. Then it gives practice prompts. How to get better, drill these things. Start to actually ask the questions, drill it. Go through these types of question reviews and things like that. So what it's doing is it's allowing us to very quickly get feedback on the particular call. What used to take an hour now can take a matter of minutes. I will again reiterate, this shouldn't completely replace doing real live call reviews. If you're in sales or anything else like that, like, you should still do call reviews. But instead of needing to do 10 or 20 a week, you might be able to kind of spot check and then continue to do some micro role play to just speed that feedback loop up a little bit more.
Tanner, Corinne has a question.
Corinne, go ahead.
Sorry, so I may have missed this in the beginning, but I just want to make sure. So you recorded the call? Like, is this something that's part of a call program, or do you record the call on your phone? How do you get that initial thing to put in? Because I made a call to an ownership group last night, and it probably would have been very interesting to see this evaluation on that call.
Yeah.
But I never, how do you record that? Is that through the computer, or is that on your phone, or how does that work?
Great question. So there's a couple different ways to solve it. So answering it specifically to this situation, all of the podcasts that we're doing are recorded via Zoom, so we have a transcript anyway. That's what makes this one really easy. For your specific situation, or for many of you on the call, there's, I think, there's a couple different ways that you could go after that. The first one could be if it is a Zoom call, then you could get the transcript and things like that from Zoom. So you can record it, get the transcript, etc., which are just some settings to turn on in the settings of Zoom. If it's a phone call, if it's a in-person meeting, then we may need to look at some different tools. I think it's called Plod, is a little actual device that you can wear that like records everything, and then you can get like transcripts and notes and all of that kind of stuff from that. So that's a true offline way to do it. I've got a tool that I've been using recently that's called Granola. It's basically a meeting notes type of just like a Fireflies or what's the other one I'm thinking of? Otter or some of the other like ones that you would traditionally see within meetings. But Granola doesn't have to be added into the meeting. So I could have Granola turned on right now and it will record all of this and get everybody's, notes and all that kind of stuff without it having be entered into the meeting. I can also go to an offline meeting and I can sit down with somebody at the coffee shop and I can just hit record on my phone, set it down, and it will record and transcribe the entire thing. That's just one tool. There's many different ones out there, but they're becoming easier and easier to access. And then any way that you can record and then be able to just take the transcript. That's the answer to that question, which is essentially there's a couple different ways to do it. If you're on Zoom, that's probably the easiest one just because it already has the natural stuff set into it. Cool. Other questions? Anyone getting excited about custom GPTs yet?
Hey, Tanner, is Granola an app?
Yes.
Okay.
Granola might be granola.ai.
That's what most of them are.
Yeah.
The other thing, Tanner, you gotta like just like when we got on this call, it sends you a banner that notifies you that the call is being recorded. You have to disclose when you're recording in most states.
Yeah. So all the states have different laws
You
around
don't have
that.
to in Texas.
Yeah, Texas, you can record without a one-way prompted recording is allowed in Texas, but it's not that way in all states.
Right. State of Kentucky's the same way.
Yeah, we also carry lots of guns.
Yeah, that too.
It's a really good note because I'm guessing that's one of those legislation things that's going to be changed a lot in the next couple of years. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs and changes and things you can't do, and then things that people are going to be like, I can't manage this anyway, and all sorts of stuff. So it'll be an interesting one as a business owner to really know some of those laws and what's changing over time. Yeah, glad you guys brought some of that stuff up. Cool. Andy, do you have a question?
I just had a statement. And just for the quickness of this, the easiest thing to say to anybody as we work to improve our systems and processes, is it okay if I record this call for our company's benefit? It's super simple, super quick, super easy, which keeps everybody out of the firing line. Worst case scenario, they say no, you just turn it off.
Yeah. To that point, most of the time when you position it as I really want to take care of you and serve you, and one of the best ways I can do that is ensuring that I don't miss any of the action items we're talking about today. Would it be okay if I record the conversation for that purpose? I haven't had a lot of people say no to that. I mean, still be respectful of the people that say no, I just don't want that. But when positioned properly and you're using the data or using it for the right purposes, I think that's where it can be easier to get it across. All right. I'm going to show you the sales role play custom GPT. This one's a little bit more involved, but just want to show you the power of what's possible. I think that's kind of the purpose behind these types of things. So we brought William onto the team. There's been some things that we've needed to go through, and anytime you've got a customer facing role, Doesn't matter if it's sales, if it's lead gen, if it's customer service, like anytime there's a face-to-face type of role, having levels of role playing is really important. So we sat here and said, well, how do we make this easier? Because I don't want the team to have to wait until we can actually sit down and do stuff. What's a way that we can kind of accelerate the learning process? We created this sales role play buddy, and I'll show you the back end of this here for a second. Similar setup as before. Difference is this one has a lot more instructions in it. And this instruction set basically says there's a setup phase. There's a kind of some blueprints that are going to be added as supporting documents. And then there's like 4 different types of calls, or you can do a custom call. There's the role play mode, and then there's like the coaching mode at the end. So I had to give it context on all of these and then give it some boundaries. Do this, don't do this, that sort of thing. So a lot deeper instructions, and then some conversation starters. So if the team member's like, I don't know what to ask this thing, well, you can ask it one of these and just click the button, which makes it really nice. Knowledge base, similar as before, where I'm going to upload scripts and examples and different things like that. And that's pretty much how the setup works. Then you go through it, and you can actually go through a bit of a live role play. I think we've got a little bit of time. Do you guys want to see or hear what that sounds like? All right, I'm going to do my best because I found that I can't do it on the screen share. It doesn't work. It's really annoying. So I'm going to try and do it through my phone here. So I'll stop share. All right, so same thing. I'm just on my phone now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use the actual voice mode so that I'm actually talking back and forth with it. So you have to tell me if you can hear this or not. I'm ready to do a role play.
Absolutely. Awesome. Let's get you set up. Which call are we practicing? 1, spotlight discovery call. 2, site visit coach on deck.
Spotlight discovery call.
Great. Next up, what type of business owner am I? Let me know the industry and the size of the business. Then we'll talk about lead warmth. Am I cold, cool, warm, hot, a past guest, or a referral? And finally, what challenge level do you want? Easy, moderate, hard, or brutal? And which skill do you want to focus on? Once you've got all that, just let me know.
I want you to be a flower company that has 3 employees. You're a relatively cold lead. You have been on the podcast with us in the past, and I'd really like to work on just the opening and rapport building.
Perfect. So we've got a small flower business with 3 employees, and you're a colder lead, maybe a little skeptical, but you've engaged with us before, so there's some history. And you want to focus specifically on the opening and building that rapport. All right, to wrap it up, we'll keep it at a moderate challenge level, so you get a little resistance, but not too brutal. And remember, when you're ready for coaching, just say end call or coach me. Let's do this.
Well, hey, Sarah, thanks so much for taking the call today.
Of course, happy to be here. I'm always juggling a bunch of things, so I'm curious to see where this goes. But hey, let's dive in.
Well, first off, I just wanted to say thank you for being on the podcast. It's been absolutely amazing to watch the episode, and you did a really great job.
Well, I appreciate that. It was a fun experience, and I'm glad it turned out well. But yeah, I'm definitely a little curious to see what you've got in mind for today. So let's see where we go.
Well, excellent. Well, when I was talking to the host and the reason that you had scheduled the meeting with us here is you had mentioned that there was a few challenges when it came to some of your lead generation, getting the brand out there. Did I capture that correctly?
Yeah, that's pretty spot on. I mean, as a small flower shop, it's not always easy to stand out. So yeah, I'm interested to see if there's something I haven't thought of yet.
Well, excellent. End call.
Absolutely. Ending the call here and switching right into coaching mode. So let's break it down. Outcome snapshot. You did a nice job following the structure for the opening of a spotlight discovery call. You got into rapport building and started making me, as the business owner, feel a little bit at ease. We didn't get to the CTA or beyond, but that wasn't the goal. Rapport, I'd give you a solid 8. You came in friendly and acknowledged the podcast connection, which was a nice touch. Spotlight anchor, I'd say about a 7.
So I'll stop it there. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of a example of how this tool can be used.
So, Tanner, how many hours did you have been put into building the, that basically just the modules that you built?
The actual building of like that tool, maybe an hour. Now, what's on the back of that, which I think many of you will understand, couple years of actually doing it consistently and understanding how to review and like do role play and things like that, like learning it internally first, but to actually build it, maybe an hour. And I was trying to go back and find the chat so I could show you all, but it literally was, I went into ChatGPT and I said, I want to create a custom GPT for sales role play for our business specifically. Um, Ask me a series of questions on how we can figure out how to build that instruction set. And then I just worked with it back and forth for probably 30 to 45 minutes until I felt like we had really extracted all the knowledge out of my head, and then said, build me the entire custom instruction set, read through it, and that's what I started to plug into the custom GPT.
Wow, pretty impressive. I mean, that's just touching the surface, but pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's been some really fun stuff. And is it a perfect replacement for true sales role play? No. But is it a good way if you can do one or two role plays with a new team member to start the day, but then they've got some extra time and need to continue to practice and get the evolutions in? This is a phenomenal tool to do something like that. And that's really how I encourage you all to think about it. It's not a replacement, but an augmentation of what you're doing. So team systemization, replicating and scaling. This is kind of the turning point. So I've shared with you a couple different ways to start building things of your own. How to create the tone document, how to start creating the system prompts, how to start thinking about project folders and kind of what the back end here looks like for creating custom GPTs. Now, we talked about at the very beginning, or close to the beginning, that one of the biggest bottlenecks is our own time. You can't go do everything. So the question is, how can we train our team on the same stuff so they can go do this on our behalf? So this is the piece. Take the framework you've learned, and we need to share it with the team so that they can start to embed AI into their daily routines and their daily processes. So as you think about your plan for the next year or so, this is a simple way to be thinking about how to roll it out. Don't try to do it all at once. Pick one of these and do like a 30, 45-minute meeting on like Mondays or Tuesdays with your entire team and say, all we're going to do this week is we're going to build our tone document so that your chat GPT or your tool sounds like you. And you're going to take them through the same prompt that I took you all through here just a few minutes ago and actually do it with them. Have them create it. That's it for the meeting. Have them start to use it for that week. Come back the next week, then do the system prompt piece and have them just do one for their role or for a couple roles that they have within the business. Then come back the following week and do a custom GPT. Have them pull information out of their head into something that can be a custom GPT for their role, their department. So just start breaking this up into multiple categories. Team folders, daily activity report, agents, and Atlas browser will be kind of what we'll talk about here next. But I don't want this to feel overwhelming. I want you to break it down. What are the easiest, simplest components that you can actually deploy with your team to just get them in the rhythm of doing it? For those of you that have employees, if your team's not already starting to play around with AI, they probably will at some point. Like, this stuff's not going away. So being able to help them know how to use it within their role within your company is going to make it easier for everybody. So daily activity reports or daily lists. How many of you do some form of daily list or daily activity report? How many of you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say daily lists or daily activity reports? So I'll give just a quick overview of this for those of you that haven't been with us at Action Coach for too long. Daily activity reports, at least here on our team, we call them daily activity reports. We also call them daily lists in kind of the Action Coach system. But it's really a list of what have I gotten accomplished today? Really, where am I at on my KPIs? What are the challenges that I faced, and what are my top action items for tomorrow? Something very, very simple to just get out of our head, a reflection of the week in like what do we need to accomplish tomorrow, so we don't have to go home and be like, oh, there's all this stuff I need to do. It's already listed out. So my team knows that everyone on the team fills out their daily activity report and they send it to their direct manager, not for the direct manager to have to read everything, but more for their own reflection. So this is a simple process within the business that you can actually use ChatGPT to send an automated prompt every single day that just asks them the questions so they can respond to it and generates the report for them, which is really cool. So the question is, how do you do it? So I wanted to throw kind of this example up here. And you can see kind of in the chat thread, literally asked, how do I set up a recurring prompt and schedule it to run every day? And it responded, got it. To set this up, I just need one thing. What do you want the recurring prompt to say, and what time should it run? So I literally said, here's what I want it to say, and I want it to run at 5 o'clock on each weekday. And it spat back out, complete daily activity report, next run November 18th at 5 p.m. Done. I'll prompt you every weekday at 5 p.m. And now I get a notification on my phone, a little push notification that says, your prompt is run for daily activity report. I open it up and it's asked me the first question, and all I have to do is answer it. I accomplished this, this, and this today. And then it will prompt the next question. What was your biggest challenge today? I struggled with this. Prompt the next question. What are your top 3 items for tomorrow? Answer the top 3. And it spits out my report that I could then copy, paste into an email, and send to my direct manager. It does that every weekday because you can do scheduled prompts. Has anyone done scheduled prompts before, or is this the first time you're hearing of it? Sarah, is that a first one? Yes? Okay. But what I think the really cool piece about this is you can do recurring scheduled prompts for anything. This is just a simple example of how to do it. But the setup is simply going into a chat and saying, I want to set up a recurring scheduled prompt. And then it will tell you exactly what it needs in order to set that up. Yeah, Corinne.
So can you get these sent to a place where I guess chat can then analyze all the responses?
Probably. Directly, no, it would need a little bit more than that. Now we're getting into agents and automated workflows and things like that takes a little bit more outside tools, and or some development understanding. There's a few things on the back end that OpenAI has been working on that allows for some of those agent workflow type things, but not directly. So short answer, yes. Longer answer, a little bit more complex setup, but yes, there are ways to do that.
So each person sends their little summaries in every day, and that's really more a tool for them than a tool for their manager or myself.
Correct.
Okay. So it's not something we're using to review or buck up against, but it should show us trends of some kind.
Yeah,
over time.
absolutely could. Yeah, absolutely could.
Okay.
So, I mean, it really depends on how you choose to set it up in your business. I know we've got some clients that we've worked with that have more of a just, what are your actions? What's your challenge? What's your next step? For our team, they actually have a little section in there that says, here's my KPIs for the week, and here's how I'm pacing towards those KPIs. That is a little bit more data driven. That piece I would want to know a little bit more about, and we'll take a look at it. Not for like, oh, you did or didn't do this, but more on like, how are we pacing on things? How can we help support you? What do you need? And that's where, as a manager, I will read through many of them. but it is first and foremost more for the team member than it is for the manager. Good questions. All right, so let's talk a little bit about agents and Atlas and autonomous workflows and things like that. So first, let's talk about what are agents. Just quick show of hands, how many of you are familiar with or have used AI agents in the past? Okay, a couple of you, some little bits. All right, beautiful. So agents are essentially AI autonomous workers, right? So they can do research, they can update things, they can analyze things, they can do outreach. Like there's a lot of different things that they can do, and they can execute tasks on your behalf. And they can, by and large, operate 24/7 with minimal supervision, assuming the underlying assumptions are true. But they are the actual worker bees, whereas chat, like everything we've pretty much talked to so far, you're interacting with it directly. Agents can actually go do stuff on your behalf. So if you've ever gotten into a point where you're like, ChatGPT, I want you to go do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, that's great. I'd love to be able to do it for you. But I can't actually do it. I can only tell you how to do it. Agents take it the step further and allow it to actually do those actions. Atlas is OpenAI's browser. So just like Chrome or Safari or any of the other web browsers out there, Atlas is OpenAI's browser that has ChatGPT built into it. And I think Darius in one of the previous calls had actually mentioned using things like this in the past. But what this adds is now imagine going to any website, any page, anywhere online, and being able to have ChatGPT connected to that site in real time, so you can say, analyze this, tell me what's on the page, I don't know, you're think of anything that you could think of. What I've tested it with is we've got a few dashboards in Looker Studio and things like that. I've literally opened it up in the browser, had ChatGPT on the side, and said, give me an analysis of all the data on this page. And it gave me your top performers are this is, your no-show rate was this. And it like went through all of the analysis of everything that was on that page. And it gave me an answer of all the data. It's really cool, like integration of ChatGPT with live web browsing. So that's what Atlas has. More and more of the web browsers are going to have stuff like this built in. So you've got Atlas, you've got Comet, which is Perplexity's version of the same type of a thing. If you're using Chrome a lot, Gemini is now built into Chrome, especially if you have like a workspace account, that sort of thing, where you can click the little Gemini button and you can ask it questions about whatever page you're on, and it will actually look at everything on that page. So what are some real world examples? I think this is where kind of rubber meets the road. How does this actually work? Many of these I've actually done, so that's why I put these up here, but the list can be basically unlimited. It can be, the agents can actually be used for a presentation deck build. This particular presentation deck, I did not build it by hand. The agent built it. One of my favorite use cases, health insurance research and recommendations. Has anyone ever had to go search for health insurance before? Does anyone just absolutely hate that process? Because I did. I had to go look for it. I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. Like, I don't understand all the stuff I'm looking for. So I literally said, hey, I'm looking for health insurance. I'm looking on these particular sites. I want you to go and find the best recommendations. Like, here's the scenarios and the situations that I've got. Here's the type of coverage I think I need. Like, help me find the top ones and run all the math for me. And it went to the website and it searched and put in all the different category information, clicked the buttons and all that stuff. And it came back with, here's actual plans that make sense for you, which was just absolutely incredible. Google Sheet updates and data entry. Some of this can be done just with the chat tool itself. Some of it can be done within agents, competitor pricing and comparisons, travel options and booking. Actually have it go in and search all the travel sites and airline carriers and all of that kind of stuff and put together an entire itinerary with flight numbers, pricing, hotels you could stay at, everything, and you could have it go book it for you. You can do all of these things. Essentially, if you can do it on a browser, the agent can do it. You may have to give it login credentials or a credit card number, something like that. Like, it's up to you and how much you want to get into it. But the key here is if you can access it by doing it at a browser, it can do it for you. I was playing around with, I wanted to build an ebook. And I was going to use Canva. I'm like, I don't want to build this thing. So I built this entire instruction set and I gave it to the ChatGPT agent. And I said, I want you to go into Canva and I want you to create this ebook. So it opened up a browser. It went into Canva. It said, I need to log into Canva. And I said, okay. So it let me log in. And then it went and it found a template, and you could watch it in real time, pull up the template, change the colors, start to change the words, move things around on the page, all in real time. I didn't have to touch it. Like, this is the power of what agents can do. Has anyone played around with the ChatGPT agent or know how or where to use it? Okay. I'm going to stop sharing and see if I can at least give you a little bit of an example of where that's at. Okay, so if we're back in ChatGPT, and I will preface, I do believe you can use the agent on the free model. You're just going to be limited on how many times you can use it per month. Jody and I were talking about this the other day. And on the Plus account, I think you have like 20 that you can do a month, but Jody was like, I think I ran out of space, or it told me I couldn't do anymore.
Yeah.
Was that right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I ran out. So I had to wait till next month. I'm like, how many did I do? I did a lot. You told me I was practicing. I was playing.
So you just go into a normal chat, just like you would for any other chat. The difference is now you're going to come over to the little plus and you're going to hit agent mode. Once you're in agent mode, it's going to kind of tell you how to do it and all that kind of stuff. Get started, and then you tell it exactly what you want it to do. I don't have one in this particular GPT account that I can show an example of, but it will, in the chat, it will go through the process and start to say, all right, I'm analyzing, I'm starting to do the task, and you will see it right in here, open its own little mini browser, and you will watch it actually do the things that it is doing on the browser. It's crazy. And then you can have it, give you the output at the end. So this is where it's at. It's really, really simple. In a chat, just make sure agent is turned on in order to use that feature. Okay. So 2026, how do we focus on applying this? 2026, we need to be thinking about making faster decisions with tighter feedback loops. It's what AI allows us to do. Automated documentation and real-time data. AI teammates that are embedded into every role, right? So this goes back to some of the things we've been talking about. How do we start incorporating this as an augmentation with the team that we currently have? Think about the day in life in 2026 where prep notes are done for you or done in minutes rather than or in seconds rather than minutes. Be able to get a summary of everything that's happening in your sales pipeline. Content creation, KPI dashboards that are just written to you in real time, scripting and coaching for your team members and folks like that. Start thinking about how this can start to incorporate into the different aspects of your business. Different ideas on what your AI stack could be for each of the departments. Now, full disclosure, I do not expect you all to take this and go build every single one of them. I just want you to kind of be thinking about how can this be leveraged in each area. Sales, you could have automated lead scoring and have it take a look at every lead and say, these are the ones that fit the criteria for being warmer or colder or hot. Call analysis, as I shared with you earlier, follow-up emails, marketing, content generation, audience insights, things like that. Operations, have it look at all of your processes and help document it. Project tracking, from an ops perspective, process documentation, and then actually plug in your process and say, where am I inefficient? How can I improve this? What are things that we can do to make this better? Finance, forecasting, expenses, all of that kind of stuff, right? Scheduling and inbox triage on the admin side. Leadership, you can help it be the decision support and KPI summaries and pulling all that stuff together. There's so many different use cases of how we can start incorporating this stuff into the business. but strip it back first and say, who's responsible for each of those things in the business today? And how do I empower them to think about how they can use AI to help increase their ability to do their job? So what should you be building this week? This week is about those first fundamental things. That tone document that helps you capture your voice. The system prompt that helps encode your SOPs so that every time that you go to work on a task, you've got a repeatable format to follow. Custom GPTs for a core role, so you can extract that information in your head and put it into something that's repeatable. Team folders to help organize those assets and those SOPs. Automation of simple tasks like a daily activity report. And then maybe one agent workflow or test task. Right? I want you to don't get too crazy. Find one or two things you can do. Do the simple stuff first, get the basics in, then start playing around with the more complex things. So as we kind of close this part of the day up, final principle is that winning in 2026 and beyond is going to be the teams who use AI the best. Not teams replaced by AI, but those who use it. So my final question, and I want you to write this down and really think about it. What is the first task in your business that deserves an AI teammate? What is the first task in your business that deserves an AI teammate? Final challenge is to build one thing today. Choose one. Tone document, the system prompt, the GPT, some form of team training, or just that daily activity report. Pick one of them that you can start the process on today and teach it to your team so that they can do the same. Take what you've learned, teach it to your team, build the systems, and leverage this to create your 2026 business. And with that, I will open up for additional Q&A, thoughts, and anything else that comes to mind from this part of the presentations today.